Welcome back, folks. Welcome back to Breath of Adventure. Today we are going to talk about the must-do mods for your DR650. You want to start riding this off-road, on the trails, moto camping, maybe around the world. These are going to be the top modifications that need to be done to the DR650 to be able to take this bike to its potential on and off-road. So stay tuned to the end. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope you enjoy this one. Right off the bat, one of the two things to change on the DR650 to improve comfort and rider position is lowering the foot pegs so the rider isn't sitting or standing so tight to the bars. It extends the distance between foot and bar. Talking more about rider position and the geometry, another huge modification for off-road riding and long-distance touring is handlebar risers. So as you can see, this is like 1.5 inches, if not 2 inches. I'll take the measurement, but there's the riser. And also, this has KX high moto bars. So this really changes the geometry while standing. With this setup, with the high riser, the high rise bars, and the lowered foot pegs, I'm basically able to stand on the bike like a motocross bike. You can stand for hours. It's very comfortable. It's easy on the body. Also, while in the seated position on highway for long times, your arms and elbows are up and out of the way. Your feet are a little bit lower. So again, that geometry is a little bit healthier for long distance riding. The seat concepts seat is a beautiful one. This is the standard. It can come in a high and also, I believe, a low. This feels good. I'm just under 6 foot. I'd say I can touch with the balls of my feet, but not completely flat. This bike is a little bit high. So next on the list, obviously, tires. This is your crucial factors of riding off-road and trail. This is what's going to determine whether you do gravel roads only or you're getting into off-road trail, four-wheeler trails, riding the granite, gnarly routes, that kind of thing. So the Death Wings, I've tried taking them on the trails. They are just a death wish. And having the dirt tires again just feels like you're back on a dirt bike, motocross bike, full hookup. I'm not too worried about, the performance on road. My riding style is majority off-road. So tires are a big upgrade. Now you can go a 50-50, 70-30, or more of like a 90-10 on these, depending on what level of off-road you're gonna ride. Now I like to have a tire that is ready for any type of adventure. If I'm on a gravel road and I see a nice single track cut trail through the woods and I want to explore it, I want a tire that can handle that. I don't want to be limited on my, possibilities of where I can and can't go. So obviously here, you can check out the other tire reviews that I have on here, but that's the IRC TR8 Battle Rally. And then moving to the rear, we have a full knobby as well, the Dunlop D606. So I'm running a full set of knobbies on this bike. I run about 2 sets a year, or maybe 1 set on a short year, but I'm very happy with their performance. So when it comes to suspension, that's one of the must-dos as well. But there's different levels of swaps or exchanges you can do depending on how much you want to put into the bike and how much you need out of the bike. Starting at the more basic level, more budget-friendly, is what has been done on this bike. And what that is it has the inertia valves in the front, which is just a aftermarket valve that you can drop in under the springs that changes basically the oil pressure and the way that it's shooting the oil through that valve. You can upgrade springs in the front, which this one has not. So I just have the inertia valves and a heavier weighted oil in there. And on the rear, you can also do a valve system, Racetech gold valves, that sort of thing in the rear. And this also has a heavier spring. So this is an 8.1 or 8.3, I can't remember, but this bike has a heavier spring installed. The factory shock and everything, but a different spring put in. So this has been set up for long distance, all the gear on the bike with a heavier rider. For me, it works out well. It keeps it stiff. I usually have a lot of weight and gear on this bike. So suspension is one of those things. The stock suspension is very soft. The nose will dive. Even with heavy braking on the road, the front end dives down. Off-road, it bottoms out. You don't have any traction. So suspension is one of those things. Whether you just revalve or you swap in a whole new system. So you can do new springs, new valves. You could put a DRZ front end. You can put a WR front end on the front. You can put a Mojave spring in the back or Coherence spring in the back and full valve system. You can really go full on with the bike and the suspension. But suspension is one of those things that needs to be done if you want to ride this bike at its capacity. In regards to performance, one of the most common modifications is rejetting the bike, modifying the airbox, and then putting an aftermarket exhaust. Now this bike has kind of the first stage. It has a jet kit from Pro Cycle, and I'm not running the snorkel. So the snorkel out of the airbox has been removed to allow more airflow, and it seems to be running great. Now, if you want to get rid of that stock heavy exhaust pipe and do the jet kit, some people will cut the top of the airbox even more to allow more flow in. That is one thing that can be done to create more responsiveness from the bike, a little bit more power and throttle from the bike. But other guys will swap out to a pumper carb, full new carb. It's, I guess, transforms the bike. I'm not going to do that. There's too many repercussions and finicky fine tuning. I want something stock and simple that's reliable and just keeps going. So that is one of the mods that many people do from the beginning, is either rejetting and opening up the airbox or putting a pumper carb on. And then another big popular modification obviously is swapping out the stock fuel tank. This is the IMS 4.9 gallon, roughly 18 liters. And the benefits to this, obviously, you can go longer and further. It's lighter weight, it's plastic, it won't just dent like the metal tanks do. This is a great mod. The stock tank is so limited with its range that you'd have to have some sort of secondary aftermarket fuel tank to help piggyback you. So this has worked out really well. Okay, so that, covers the majority of the basic mods you can do to get a lot more potential and capacity out of this bike off-road. Depending on how far you want to go with it, there's many other cool little add-ons you can do. Obviously, skid plate is also one of those must-haves for off-road. This one actually has a full engine guard around it. This bike also has the aftermarket case savers on, has the aftermarket oil pump cover. That's where the oil filter is, and that is a cover on a cover, so it's extra protected. These are pivot pegs, and as you can see, they actually rotate back and forth. Now that is a nice addition, but having anything with a little bit larger foot platform and a little bit gnarlier foot grip is going to help you riding this bike off-road. Your brake covers, rear brake cover, just giving some of that protection here. We have our bark busters. These are the heavy duty ones that are not plastic, full aluminum with the flip out mirrors, so I can tuck these bad boys out of the way when I'm off-road, flip them back out when I need them. But these are a savior. These also help protect the levers when falling in the woods, so that is a must-have as well. Another big modification that's easy to do is swapping out the stock headlight bulb to an LED. Creates so much more light and projection. The stock headlight sucks. It doesn't give you enough for off-road. And for me, I've got these hefty rough country lights that have the yellow and the LED, so I can have a daylight running light. So I like to rock the daylight running lights on the trails in the road for more visibility. When I'm off-road at night, I've got some major spotlights. Tool bag. This is a small kit right now, testing some of these strapping systems on an aftermarket tool bag. This bike, it's hard to see here, but it actually has the front fender like stabilizer bar. So this piece of metal actually comes out, which helps stabilize the tool bag and the weight on the front, but it also helps stiffen up the front fender, which helps at higher speeds on the road. And then from there, basically you're just adding your luggage system. And here we have the old school Wolfman dry bag system, a large action fuel tank bag that holds all of my electronics. And then I also have my 50-liter C-line dry bag that I just strap to the back for now. But but that gets me by. That gets me by for moto camping on a minimum, about 2 nights worth, a little bit of food, some extra water. And there you have it. There's some of the must-do modifications for your DR650 if you want to take this thing off-road and into the woods on the trails, get moto camping, and not be kind of restricted on where you can go. There's your modifications. Once this bike is modded out with those things, it feels great. It feels like a big, heavy dirt bike. It's still slim enough compared to some of the larger ADV bikes. It's still got the clearance. I've never bottomed out the front or rear suspension. I'm obviously not jumping this thing, but I am riding it hard. It feels great. I hope this provides you value if you're thinking about modifying your DR650, and here's a list of the things that will help you take this bike off-road. Thanks for being here. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you on the next one.